there's a CR500 Street Racer project. We're going to go ahead and put that chain back on there today, get the front sprocket mounted back on, and install a case saver. So that's where we're going to start, and then we'll see where we leave off. Well, that was pretty easy. All I had to do was just simply pull the chain over, put the sprocket on, slide it onto the counter shaft, put the bolt right in. Stretch the chain right over the rear sprocket, and there we are. The chain, of course, is loose. I have to tighten it up yet. We'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to install the case saver on here. Don't ever run one of these motors without a case saver, because if your chain were to jump, it's going to tear a hole in the side of your case, probably crack it. There'll be oil everywhere, and it'll just be a real mess, and everybody will laugh at you. So make sure you put your case saver back onto your motor. Okay, we got the case saver on there. I noticed I forgot to put on the swing arm nut, so we put that on there too. I've got the toe guard to stop your toe from going into the chain when you're using the shifter. Shifter comes out to here someplace, so it'll stop your boot from going into the chain and sprocket. So we got that mounted nicely. There's not too much else that I need to do with the chain other than start tightening up some bolts and tighten this whole thing up. This here is the rear chain guide, and this is usually a closed tube that you have to feed the chain through. And because my chain is riveted shut, it's not easy to feed that through. So what I did was I split the top of it like so, and you could split the bottom, but that would be stupid because there'd be nothing to reinforce it. Up on top is where the bolts go through, so that'll hold it all together. But this will go right around the chain, just like this, and then be bolted into its appropriate position, and that guides the chain into its proper direction. There's the chain guide installed. I'm missing a bolt, but that's not a big deal. I'll pick one of them up from the hardware store. I'm not sure that I'm completely satisfied with how this thing fits, because it keeps that chain awfully close to that tire. And if you remember from part 3 of this video series, that I made special arrangements to push the wheel over just a couple millimeters to make sure that that chain clears. So I got a feeling we're probably going to ditch this, and I'm going to create a roller shaft that goes down through here. Somebody some time ago told me that this particular setup was not going to work. This is a CR125 swing arm. This is a CBR 600 F3 rear wheel. This is a Yamaha R6 brake bracket and a Yamaha R6 brake caliper. And not only did he tell me that this stuff wouldn't fit together, but he also told me that it wasn't going to work. Well, I got news for him. I forget who the guy was, but he was such a jackass that I blocked him on YouTube. I don't need anybody telling me that these things aren't going to work when I know damn well they are, especially when they're not being constructive. But here is the R6 rear brake caliper, rear brake bracket, CR125 swing arm, and a CBR rear wheel, all mounted as one piece. One working component, I might add. And there it is. All mounted, all together, one working component. The brake disc happens to be the same size on the CBR 600 F2 as it is on the R6, so the diameter wasn't a problem. The bracket was very, very similar to the CR125 part. It just needed a little bit of machining on the inside to make it fit together correctly. Of course, the caliper bolts directly onto that bracket, so there was no modification needed there. A little bit of clearancing done to this to make sure it fit, because this wheel was very, very difficult to fit into this swing arm. But once we got it all said and done, I have a rear brake that works, and all with factory parts. Factory brake pads, factory components, everything in this is factory. Slightly modified bracket, but all factory parts. Alright, over here we've got the kickstarter, and we've got the rear set on the right hand side. And we need to make sure that there's some clearance between here when we get this rear set mounted. So I have to build a bracket that comes up between this bolt here and probably this bolt down here. So there'll be a plate of some sort with the bolts going through this that will allow me to bolt that rear set onto there. And if I get it just right, the Kickstarter should completely clear everything. If I get it to about here, just going to have to be very, very careful that my foot doesn't catch on this or that I don't scratch up the side of my leg through the full revolution of the kicker. So I'll be watching out for that. But otherwise, that looks like it might work. So that's one of the next things on the agenda.